Close your eyes for just a second. Imagine waking up one morning, walking outside, and realizing that the thunderous roar of America's most famous waterfall has just vanished. Poof, gone. No roaring water, no mist in the air, just this impossible, eerie silence. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into something that sounds completely made up, the day the falls actually ran dry. In 1969, millions of Americans lived through this exact scenario. They showed up expecting that iconic, thunderous mist they knew and loved, but instead, they were met with the stark, surreal reality of bare, dry rocks. It sounds like straight-up science fiction, I know, but the reason one side of Niagara Falls suddenly shut off is honestly stranger than you might think. Chapter 1. The Day Niagara Went Dry. 4 million. To put things into perspective, before the shutdown, nearly 4 million cubic feet of water crashed over those cliffs every single minute. Try to wrap your head around that kind of volume. It's enough to fill thousands of Olympic swimming pools in the blink of an eye, an unstoppable force of nature. But underneath all that breathtaking beauty, a very dangerous problem was quietly brewing. Chapter 2. A Hidden Threat Below. So scientists started noticing these huge, frankly terrifying cracks forming right in the rocks beneath the American Falls. And then it got worse. Massive boulders actually sheared off and plummeted from the cliff face. Suddenly, the total collapse of the falls wasn't just some crazy, far-off theory. It was a very real, very immediate fear. The United States Army Corps of Engineers found themselves facing an impossible decision. Did they step in and physically try to save one of America's greatest natural wonders from destroying itself? Chapter 3. Stopping the Roaring Falls. In June of 1969, engineers launched what has to be one of the strangest, most ambitious construction projects in history. They built a massive temporary dam. And by that summer, they did it. They achieved the impossible. The American Falls were officially turned off, and the dry riverbed was completely exposed. As we'll see, the water would come rushing back by late 1969, but that brief summer window, that's where the magic, and honestly, the mystery happened. Think about this. For the first time in thousands of years, the American side of Niagara Falls went completely dry. Imagine being a tourist that summer, standing at the edge in absolute disbelief. Instead of the rushing, roaring water you traveled hundreds of miles to see, you're just staring at a towering wall of bare, jagged rocks. It was a sight literally nobody thought they'd ever witness in their lifetime.
Chapter 4. Secrets of the Riverbed.
With the water finally out of the way, workers and scientists could actually walk out onto the riverbed itself. And what they found hidden beneath millions of gallons of water was, well, unexpected. As they scoured the dry rock, they found millions of coins tossed in over the decades by tourists making wishes. They found ancient rocks holding crucial geological clues and lost objects from generations past. But it wasn't all just innocent wishing wells. They also uncovered unexplained human remains. Now, some belong to known accident victims, sure, but others, dark mysteries that remain completely unsolved to this day. The dry falls turned into this massive temporary museum of secrets. You'd think people might be spooked by that, right? Not a chance. The public was absolutely fascinated. Tourists literally came right up to the edge, threw new coins directly onto the dry riverbed, and some even tried to walk right out across it. It's such a wild reminder of human nature. People were just desperate to physically touch this once-in-a-lifetime piece of history. They wanted to go home and tell their friends, hey, I was there the year the falls stopped. Chapter 5. Nature's Final Verdict. After months of intense study out on the dry riverbed, a huge scientific and philosophical debate started raging among the experts. They were faced with two very distinct paths to determine the ultimate fate of the falls. On one hand, interfere, bring in the heavy machinery, remove the fallen rocks, and artificially restore the falls to their pristine, picture-perfect beauty. On the other hand, leave nature alone. Let the rocks lie exactly where they fell. If you were sitting on that committee, staring down this historic choice, what would you do? I mean, do we control nature or do we let it run its course? Well, after months of agonizing debate, they reached a pretty surprising conclusion. The rocks would stay. The prevailing philosophy among the experts boiled down to this. Nature had created this landscape, and humans shouldn't interfere. They realized that the falling rocks and the erosion, that wasn't the destruction of the waterfall. It was just part of its natural life cycle. It simply wasn't our place to try and freeze it in time. And just like that, months later, the great experiment came to an end. The temporary dam was carefully dismantled. Slowly at first, and then with this incredible, triumphant power, the water came rushing back. The mighty roar finally returned. The mist shot right back up into the air, and Niagara Falls had officially come back to life. Millions of people celebrated as the falls resumed their spectacular natural display. It's crazy to think that today, when visitors see that breathtaking waterfall, most of them have absolutely no idea that one side of it completely disappeared. For just a few months back in 1969, everyday people witnessed something that we will probably never see again. It's an absolutely incredible story, but it leaves us with a pretty heavy, lingering question. If you had the power, would you stop one of nature's greatest wonders to save it? Think about that the next time you see a picture of the mighty Niagara Falls. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.